Thanks for joining us here at Functional Bliss, where Audra and Jessica will guide you through exercises and wellness techniques to help you live your best life every day. It's in the name after all, Functional Bliss. Before you do anything else, click like and subscribe and ring the bell so you'll know whenever we put up a new video. To join our Blissful Gang for live Zoom classes where you can get more direct suggestions and encouragement, go to our website and sign up. Check the class description below for any equipment needs, grab your gear, and let's get started.
Hold on a second. Okay. All right. So the first minute of work is going to be our Tai Chi twist and shrug. So you're going to keep your head straight forward, your torso twist, your shoulders shrug, they lower down, return through center over to the other side. So the hips stay facing forward, the head stays facing forward, just the torso turns and the shoulders shrug. And then if you're just one of those people that likes doing that little bit of breath work, you'll inhale as that shrug comes in. And then you'll exhale as you float through the rest of the work. Keep your head as forward as you can. So even if it helps you find it, find a single point where you could focus your eyes. So your eyes keep helping maintain that focused, steady gaze. And then your head stays in that comfortable forward position. And then as you do this work here, just kind of tune in and notice how's your upper back? How's your shoulders feeling? What does your energy level feel like here? So this is a really light bit of work. It's not like extenuating in any way. So if you're feeling already like, oh gosh, Mondays, then you might choose to take everything at a light pace. We have 2 jogging rounds today. So you just notice, how does your energy level feel? As you start to pick up the pace, things might feel good and you might want to go for that bigger oomph. But if you're feeling like all morning long feels like Monday in your soul, then you'll take everything you do at the pace that makes the most sense. Okay, now grab either your yoga block or your towel. We're going to go for our memory squats. Memory squats do not need to be fast. The point is to connect all the pieces together. So place your towel or your yoga block in between your knees. That's just going to hold and maintain that bit of space. We crisscross our arms, thumbs facing out if you can arrange it, and then you grab hold of your earlobes, or like one earlobe, one ear tip. So you're going to find a way that you can hold your ears with your arms crisscrossed and the thumbs facing out. And then this is the big thing. We add that breath connection. So we inhale as we lower down and we exhale as we rise up. And the breath matters for this one. It's all part of this big brain connection. So we cross the midline of the body with those crisscrossed arms. Now we've added just that little extra element of also connecting a little bit of maintenance in that inner thigh area. And then we breathe. Inhale as you lower down, exhale as you rise up. And then go for a pace that matches your breath. So rather than going for some sort of speed, good morning, Linda. We need this morning either a yoga block or a folded up towel. That's just going to be whatever you have easily available. Both will do. Or you could get both and then you can just play around with what feels good in the places that we're going. All right, so we've got that block between our knees. Our arms are crisscrossed, thumbs sticking out. Inhale as you lower down. Exhale as you rise up, nice and slow. And then notice here, how does your back feel? How do your shoulders feel? How do your knees and ankles feel? Inhale, lower down. Exhale, rise up. We've got 20 seconds left. Oh, and then I should also say we've got tree trimmer guys here doing some maintenance on some of our trees. So if my sound gets cut out, it may be that my microphone is trying to do some noise canceling. So just know I'm still talking, but the tree trimmers might be louder than me. All right, that's time. Take a second to kind of wiggle, shake out your arms. And now we're going to step our feet to a nice wide configuration. Then we're going to slightly pigeon our toes, hands behind the head or to the side of the head. How do your shoulders feel? And now we're going to go hip hinge. So we're going to keep a long spine. Come to that halfway point, firm push into the feet. And then as you come up, you're just going to do a little tick-tock from side to side, come back through center, and then that hip hinge again. We've got 1 minute on the clock. Now, some of us feeling with your equilibrium. If those side bends don't feel good, leave that part off. So hip hinge, steady gaze, eyes forward, steady gaze as you come back up. And then maybe that tick-tock, but only if that part feels good to you this morning. And then if you weren't here for my big lecture on Friday, keeping in mind that the holiday season is upon us, and as you start listing your little wish list for your gifty exchanges, tell everybody that you love that you want super heavy weights. You want the 20 pounders, the 30 pounders, the 50-pound kettlebell. Okay, maybe not the 50-pound kettlebell. Not for this class anyways. 15 seconds left. Actually, I take that back. You can go for the 50-pounder because for your deadlifts and your squats, you can totally handle 50-pounders. No problem because your legs are wicked strong. All right, bring it on up. Give your arms a good shake. Now we're going to take our yoga block or your towel. It's going to be folded up and it's going to be at the front end of your mat. And then if you're going for yoga block, you want it long ways where your foot can land on the block. This is our first little speed round. We're going to start at the end of our mat. The block or the folded up towel is at the front end of your mat. And you're going to come at a little pace, step one foot on and try to hold balance just for a moment, and then jog yourself backwards. Run forward, other foot on, try to hold balance just for a moment. The towel underneath your foot is going to work the small muscles and bones of your foot just a little bit more. The yoga block is going to give you a little bit more strong structure. So pick the tool, whatever you've got might be the best tool, or pick the tool that feels the most beneficial to the work that you're personally doing. So if your feet need that extra bit of strengthening and you've got both tools, go for your towel. If you just have the yoga block available, go for the yoga block. And then if the block feels more stable and that's what you're looking for this morning, go for the block. So go for the tool that feels the best, a little bit of a pace just to challenge that catch right at the end where you catch that balance, hold it just for a moment, and then lower down and come back to the end of your mat. And then as you do this work here, your heart rate might go up just a little bit as you're starting to pick up the pace. So can you let your heart rate come up and can you still breathe in and out through your nose? Don't worry if you have to open your mouth to breathe. We just want to see where our threshold is of how strong our breath is. 12 seconds left. Nice job. And time. Beautiful work. Okay, now we're going to stick with our block or a towel. It's going to be 1 minute for one foot, 1 minute for the other foot, and then we're going to load up. So grab some hand weights. We're going to load up at the shoulders. One foot's going to be on the towel or the block. The other foot, the free foot, is going to step back into a lunge and then step forward. Step back into a lunge and step forward. That's all the work you've got to do. We've got 1 minute on the clock. Do the work at your pace. It does not need to be fast to be effective. And you want to do that tuning in and noticing, like, how does your knee feel doing this work? How do your hips feel doing this work? You shift a slight balance onto that standing leg. Especially if you're on the towel, it may challenge your foot just a little bit. So step back into a little bit of a lunge and then step yourself forward again. Nice job. You're already halfway there on this side. And how far you step back into that lunge, where do you feel the strongest? Make sure your knees feel good. Make sure your ankles feel good. Beautiful work. We got 6 seconds left. And time. Nicely done. Okay, just shift your tool over to the other side. So yoga block or towel. And then we're taking those deficit lunges right to the other side. So step your other foot on. Keep that load at the shoulders. Step back into a lunge. Come forward. Notice one side might behave very differently than the other. So don't feel like you have to go at a certain pace. Go for control. Step back into your lunge. Come up. Take a pause. And then do it again. So maintain your balance best you can. Nice job. Ten seconds left. And time. Beautiful job. Okay, lower your arms just for a second. Shake out anything that you need to. Move your block or your towel out of the way, clear your space just a little bit. Now we're going to jog forward and back again, get the heart rate back up. But this time, as we jog to the back end of our mat, we're just going to bend down, touch the ground, and then jog it forward, jog it backwards, bend down, touch the ground. We got 1 minute on the clock. All we're trying to do is get our heart rate up just a little bit. Doesn't need to be extreme. Bring a little bit of heat back into your body. If bending down and touching the ground is not for you this morning, you're going to leave that part off. If jogging is not for you this morning, you're going to walk with an intentional pace. You might choose to walk toe ball heel, heel ball toe. So find the work that feels just right for you this morning. You're already halfway there. Especially when we do this short work, I like to play around with my proprioception. Like, can I find the end of my mat without seeing my image on the screen? Do I know where the back end of my mat is without having to look at the place that I'm running to? 5 seconds left. And time. Nicely done. Okay, now this is going to be 30 seconds one side, 30 seconds the other. For some of us, turning and stepping is not going to be the thing today. So for some of us, it's going to be step up onto your towel or block, catch and hold, step it back down, step, catch and hold. For some of us, it's going to be a step turn. So you're going to step your foot as you turn, step up onto your tool, catch and hold. If you want more work, then you'll add your hand weights. This one is going to be 30 seconds one side, 30 seconds the other. So go for that challenge. Step up with a little bit of oomph. Try to catch your balance and hold. The knee lifts. We lock those hip flexor muscles. The core muscles kick on. The step turn is beneficial for us, assuming that our equilibrium is there this morning. So if you've been dealing with any vertigo stuff or just any stuff with your eyes, the step turn might not feel great, so you'll leave that part off. 2 seconds left. All right, now either reposition yourself or reposition your block, but now we're going to step turn to the other side, or just a straightforward step up, knee catch and hold. Do the work that makes the most sense to your body this morning. Step turn, lift and hold, or step forward, lift and hold. We got 30 seconds. Do the work at your pace. Ten seconds left. Now from this next move, we're going to be coming down into a tabletop position. We'll use one tool underneath our forearms or our wrist. But if you also like to cushion your knees, then maybe put your towel underneath your knees, yoga block underneath the wrist. You pick your poison the way that makes the most sense. But now we're going to come down into a tabletop position, and we will use a hand weight and a block or a towel underneath. Now, for this one, I'm going to use my big weight, but you choose the weight that feels the best to your wrist, to your body this morning. So we're going to place our forearm onto our block or our towel, and then you're going to try to hold nice and low to the bottom end of your weight, just to kind of make it a little bit top heavy. And we're going to start with 30 seconds of work. So we're going to start with rotation. You're going to try to keep your forearm on your towel or your block, hold on to the lower end of your weight, and then just start to turn. Twist in one direction, twist the other way, go with control. So although I'm using my 8-pounder, I've already tested the water. I know that I can handle that weight. But if you're like, I'm building up my strength or I'm rehabbing here, go for light weights or no weights and go for just range of motion. Pick the work that makes good sense to you this morning. 10 more seconds, and then we're going to switch the work. All right, now we're going to keep that arm on the block or the towel. We're going to keep our hand grip on the low part, but now we're going to go thumb facing up, and we're just dipping the weight up and down. The forearm is going to stay connected to the block or the towel. And now you're just lifting the wrist up and down. We got 30 seconds of work here, slow and steady. You may choose to switch weights here, so make sure that you're working with a depth of work that makes the most sense to your wrist and your forearm. And time. Nicely done. Okay, now we're moving that all to the other side. So just pass your block or your towel over, grab your hand weight. Now, if you're rehabbing one side and you were like, I can go heavy on the other side, but now I need to switch light, always switch. You have the options to make those choices for yourself. So pick the work on the side that honors what's going on with your body. Hold on to the lower end if you can. And now we're taking it into those rotations. So we're rotating the palm up and down. We're keeping our forearm connected to the block or the towel. Ten seconds left, and then we switch. All right, now top end hanging up there. We're holding on to that lower part and thumb facing up. And now we're just lifting up and down. Same thing on this side though. If something is different on this arm compared to the other, make sure you honor it. Just pay attention to how things are feeling. You can go range of motion, just moving and not using the load if that feels like a safer or more appropriate thing to do. Ten seconds left. And time. Nicely done. Okay, move your weights a little off to the side. Move your block or your towel a little bit off to the side. Now we're going to be in tabletop position, and it's going to tricep push-up in table position. So arms in line with the shoulders. Now we're going to keep our elbow pits facing towards the front end of our mat. We're going to bend the elbows and see if you can get your elbows to touch all the way down to the ground or close enough, and then push yourself back up nice and strong. So it's a little bit of an idea of a planking spine. So you can see that my hip hinge happens as I lower down. So it's not my belly dropping to help assist make that move happen. Try to work from the backs of your arms, lower your elbows down, use the backs of your arms to push your way back up. We've got 30 seconds of work here. So take the work at your pace, but keep in mind, if you've got anything going on, carpal tunnel, tennis elbow, kind of stuff, you might choose to go slow and a mindful range of motion that makes the most sense to your body. Once you're on, if you can, as you help maintain that planking spine, you're going to keep your head in a level, steady position. Eyes are gazing down between the thumbs, elbows touch down, elbows come back up. You got 3 seconds left. All right, now we're switching positions, and it's going to be a triangle push-up. So we're going to keep our knees down, but we're going to get our hands to form in a little bit of a triangle. So index fingers and thumbs are going to create a little bit of a triangle, and then we're going to walk the knees back a little bit. So we're in a more of a planking position, and now we're going to go for our push-ups here. Go nice and slow. Keep that good planking spine. Index fingers, thumbs together, making that triangle. We got 30 seconds. Go slow and steady. Keep a firmness in your abdomen. Beautiful work. Nice job. Ten seconds left. And time. Awesome work. Okay, now we're going to go for slow motion mountain climbers with a little tuck and lift. So we're going to get into our tall plank position. Now you can do this against the wall. You could do this on a chair, or you could do it against a bed. So somewhere that the other level might feel a little bit better. You'll have options, but we're going to find a tall planking position. You're going to pull your right knee toward your elbow. You're going to tuck up, lower down, send it back, switch to the other side. Pull the knee towards the elbow, do a little tuck up. So we want to imagine that we're pulling the abdominal muscles in, rounding through the back of the body, and then pull the other knee in, tuck it up, lower it down, step it back, nice and slow. Focus on that steady work, find that tuck, step it back with control. If this height feels like it's not for you, take it up to the edge of your bed, take it against your dresser, take it to the wall. There's no wrong way to do this work, assuming you don't injure yourself. You're already halfway there. Nice job. 10 seconds left. And time. Beautiful work. All right, we're spinning it around onto our backside. We're going for a hip bridge, but we're going to place a block or your towel underneath one foot. It's going to be 1 minute one side, 1 minute the other side. So get your block where it's going to be underneath one single foot, and then we're going to come down into our hip bridge position. We will lift up, both feet on the ground, 1 foot on the block, 1 foot on the ground, lift up, keep the leg on the block, pick your leg that's on the ground up to meet it, touch it back down, lower your butt, lift your butt, lift your foot, lower your foot, lower your butt. We got 1 minute on the clock. Do the work at your pace. If that causes any stress or strain on your knee, then you might choose to step your foot off of the tool, but it should feel like it's work coming from the back of your standing leg. So the leg that's on the block or on your towel, that's your standing leg for this one. You pick up the foot that's on the ground, lower it down, and you hopefully will feel the muscles in the back of the thigh and the muscles in your butt work just a little bit harder as you help lift that other leg up. Now, if this doesn't feel like it's quite enough challenge, you're going to grab your hand weights, you're going to load them right in front of your chest, you're going to lift up, pick up your foot, lower back down. So find the challenge of work that feels best to you. And time. Nicely done. Okay, we're switching over to the other foot. So if you need to sit up and pass the block over, do that, or pass your towel over. If you need to rearrange it, do a little rearrange. But we're placing that tool underneath the other foot, setting up for those hip bridges so we're slightly uneven. We lift the butt, we lift the leg, we lower it down, we lower our butt. We got 1 minute on the clock. Add your hand weights in front of your chest. Any challenge here that feels good to you, throw it in. Or no challenge at all. Sometimes the challenge is just showing up in the morning and that's all you got. And I'm glad you're here. So if that's all you do and then you just lay on your mat and go, then it's super. 15 seconds left. You got this. However, I will say, notice how these hip bridges feel, because we will come back to some hip bridging. It'll be a little bit more of a different variation, but just kind of notice, how do your legs feel? How do your hips feel? Do your legs feel strong? All right, the next time your butt lands down, move your block out of the way. We're going to take it into some dead bugs, adding on a full body crunch in between. So arms and legs up in that reverse tabletop position. Opposite hand, opposite foot are going to stretch out and away from each other. They come back in with control. Switch to the other side. It comes back in with control, and then everything tucks into a little crunch. Back to your reverse table, and away we go, alternating your dead bug. As you do your dead bugs, the key here is to keep the other two limbs steady. So let's say your left arm and right leg reach out and away from each other. That means the other arm and leg are going to stay as stable as possible, not too much wiggling, not too much moving around. For some of us, it'll feel better to have the natural curve of our back. For some of us, it'll feel better to have the belly button pressing towards the spine. And for some of us, it'll feel better to be a little bit crunched up the whole time. So go where your abdominal muscles or your core feels the strongest and your back doesn't feel achy when you do this work. 5 seconds left. And time. Nice job. Okay, next bit of work. Before I even set the timer, we're going to talk through it and then we'll get into it. We're going to do 3 dynamic hip bridges. That's just to test the water, make sure your feet feel like they're in the right place, your knees and your hips feel like they're in the right place. And then on that third one, we're going to lift up into the hip bridge and we're going to hold it there, and we're just going to hold our hip bridge for a full minute. So get yourself where you think you're ready to go. Feet about hip width distance apart, heels close to the butt, hands alongside the hips. Lift your hips up, lower back down. Notice how that feels. Lift your hips up, lower back down. Any changes that you need to make them. Lift your hips up, lower them down. And now this is our last one. We're lifting up and we're holding here. Now I'm going to set the timer and we're just going to hold that hip bridge. You're going to hold it nice and steady for 1 full minute. If that feels like it's not quite enough challenge, you're like, I got this. Because I know Liz can hold a hip bridge for like 5 minutes. So arms above the chest, that'll give you that little extra bit of challenge so your arms are out of play and they can't help support the work. So it's all going to come from your legs and your butt, a little bit of your belly and a little bit of your back. Steady breath. Don't let your butt sag. Keep it lifted up. Keep that upward lifting energy even though you're not moving. You guys look amazing. Nice job. Check your butt one last time. Make sure it's not sagging. The butt muscles are still gripping. Legs are still nice and strong. And slowly, slowly, slowly start to lower your way down. Once you've lowered all the way down, pull your knees into your chest just a little bit. Give yourself a gentle little rock from side to side. The last 3 minutes of work are just nice, gentle mobility movement. So come down onto your back. Right leg is going to come across the left. You want to make sure there's a little space on the side of your legs so that you have a little bit of room to move. Arms are going to come out nice and wide, and we're going to take that figure 4 and we're going to rock it slowly from side to side. We're going for a full minute on this leg. Think of this as a hip mobility movement. And for some of us, it can actually be a soothing, somatic, therapeutic movement, but you want to make sure that your knee feels good. You're only moving your hip to a depth that feels safe and comfortable. You shouldn't be like gripping in your breath here, so it should be slow and smooth. Take your time. Check your knee, only go as far as feels good, which for some of us might be really small. You might be still like kind of facing up towards the ceiling, just that gentle bit of rocking motion. For some of us, it will feel a little bit better to go further, but go where your body feels the most grateful for the work. And time. Nicely done. Okay, as you come back through center, recross your legs to the other side. So left leg is going to come across the right. We've got that figure 4. Keep in mind, one side might behave very differently from the other, so honor this side. Only go as far as feels good. Start with a small range of motion. Rock it a little bit side to side. That might be just enough. If it feels good and comfortable and safe, and you've got big range of motion and the hips and the knees feel happy about it, you can take that work further, but still we want to go slow. We want to think of this as a soothing somatic work or a nice soothing hip mobility drill. And time. Beautiful job. Okay, step your foot off. We're going to go feet together, knees together, as close as you can. This last minute of work, 30 seconds one side, 30 seconds the other side. It's a stretch for the abdomen. So it's going to be knees together, arms are going to come out, palms facing up or palms facing down. You'll find what feels the most comfortable. We're just going to drop the knees over to one side. So you're going to try to keep your shoulders evenly anchored on the ground, and your knees are going to drop over to the side. And what we're looking for is the sensation of stretch that comes up along the side of the belly and up towards the ribs. And then once you've got your way there, all you have to do is breathe. Breathe nice and deep. Think of this as a nice, gentle stretching and toning of the abdomen. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving dinner, y'all. We got to get some space up in here for those mashed potatoes. So we want to just get a little stretch in the belly. Nice, deep breaths here. Three seconds left. All right, when you're ready, pick those knees up, pause for a second. If you need to adjust anything, adjust. And then we're dropping the knees over to the other side. We're same thing on this side. We're looking for that stretch that comes across that center side of the belly up towards the rib cage. And then all you got to do is breathe. Shoulders stay anchored. The head stays facing up towards the ceiling. And time. Nicely done. Okay, bring those knees back to center. Pull one knee toward your chest. Bring the other leg nice and long. Take a little stretch to your butt muscles, a little bit of a gentle stretch to that left hip flexor. Take a nice big breath. And then when you're ready, we're going to switch. Pull the left knee toward your chest. Let the right leg go nice and long. So we're compressing the left hip flexor. We're stretching the right, and we're stretching the left butt muscles just a little bit. All right, and then when you're ready, release. Then we're going to come up to a seated position. So take your time as you sit yourself up, scoot your butt back, big generous bend in the knees. Think up and overhead, lift everything upward, create a whole bunch of space through that front of your body, and then reach towards your toes. Does not matter if you can touch your toes. We're just reaching towards them. Once you found a little bit of a stretch or stress in the low back, hang out there for a second and take a nice big breath. Take one more breath. And then come up nice and slow. Sit in any way that feels the most comfortable, but we're going to go fingertips into one palm. Gently press the palm forward. Get a little stretch to the fingers, to the palm, to the wrist. All right, now we're going to switch that work. So you're going to take your thumb into your palm, and then you're going to cup your hand around and then push the wrist forward. So now we're going to stretch in the opposite direction. So here we're shooting for a little stress to the top of the forearm. One more breath. All right, release, and we're switching it to the other side. So fingertips into the palm, press your palm forward. Nice, and then we're gonna switch. So thumb into the palm, little clamp on that hand, and then we press the wrist forward. Nice, one more breath. And then when you're ready, release, give your hands a good shake like you got a bunch of water on your hands. Shake, 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 shake them all out. And then we're flipping it over into a tabletop. Take a quick puppy pose to stretch the upper body. And then you will be done unless you're sticking around with your massage balls, but hips fairly in line with the knees. Walk your hands out towards the end of your mat and then let your chest drop down. So this should feel like a shoulder, upper back, armpit, chest, or maybe lats, just depending on where you might hold a little tension. And you want to walk your arms out as wide as feels comfortable so that your chest has plenty of space to soften down towards the ground. It doesn't matter if your forehead touches ground. We just want to feel a little bit of a stress in the upper body. Take a nice big breath. All right, and then when you're ready, come up nice and slow and controlled. Find your way all the way up to a You guys are amazing. Grab your tennis balls, your massage balls, do the netted balls and the big balls if you've got the whole set. We're going to start with our feet. So if you've got your netted balls or just a single ball, both will do the trick. But if you got your netted balls, sometimes under the foot, I just love the netted balls because I get so much ground covered in just one fell swoop. So netted ball or single ball down on the ground. And then we're just going to start by just soft rolling the bottom of the foot. So nothing extreme, but we're just going to work heel to toe. Take your time. And then if you've got the netted balls versus the tennis single ball, so you might go like into the groove and just kind of reposition your foot as you roll along so you just get a lot of ground covered. And then if things are feeling good and you have just that good control, then you're going to lean into it a little bit more. So you're going to let your body weight kind of push forward and move with you. But then tune in and pay attention. So if you've got like arthritis in the feet or just any fused bones in the feet or plantar fasciitis, go slower. Take the time, let that nice dense material have a little bit of time to soften and warm up. All right, now we're going to go big toe on the ball and the rest of the toes are going to go onto the ground, or relatively so. So big toe on, push the other toes down. For me, sometimes my second toe gets caught up in that. So don't worry about being perfect. Just go for like that intention, big toe on. And then we're going to move on to the second toe. And then we're going to move on to the third toe. When I get to the third toe, it's like all 5 toes are really trying to grip onto the ball. So just know that I'm saying that's the intention. And then the rest of the toes are just going to do whatever they do. Go for the fourth toe. Go for the pinky toe. All right, now we're going to switch to the other foot. Nice and slow, just a soft roll to the bottom of the foot. Get as much ground covered here as you can. And then one foot, depending, might feel very different from the other. So just be mindful about how this foot feels. And then if things are feeling good and you have that good control, then you take a little bit more of that forward body weight into the bottom of the foot. All right, one more roll through the bottom of the foot, and then we're going to go big toe on, other 4 toes off as much as they'll go. And then release, move on to the second toe. And then release, move on to the third toe. And then release, move on to the fourth toe. And then release, move on to your pinky toe. My pinky toe on my left side is like, we'll take all the toes. All right, and then release, and then give your toes and your feet just a little twinkle and a little wiggle. And we're going to come down into a seated position, and then we're just going to work the back of the calves in a seated position, and then we're going to lay down onto our back and tuck them behind our knees in a little bit of a squeeze. So start by just placing the single ball, netted balls, whatever you've got, just down towards your ankle, and then we're just like doing a little dip of the knee. So we're just going to roll up and down, go gentle. All right, and then move it up just a little bit and then stay in that small range of motion. All right, and then move it up again. So now we're getting up into the upper third of the calf muscle. And then there, the bend of the knee is going to not take you very far, but we're not going for big work because we're just kind of just smushing the back of the calf around just a little bit, just kind of let it know that work's about to happen. All right, and then we're going to move it right over to the other side. So a little close to the Achilles tendon, bottom half of the calf muscle, just a little bend and straighten of the knee. We're not going for big sensation here. So we're not trying to like dig in and like press down. We're just kind of like letting the outer surface know that work's going to happen. All right, move it up just a little bit. Move it up again. All right, now hopefully you're up in that upper quadrant, just a little bump of the knee. Cool. And then once you've just bumped that knee just enough, now we're going to come down onto our back. We're going to take the ball. So either single ball or netted. It's going to be just whatever you've got available and what feels appropriate. But we're going to take the netted balls and we're going to tuck it. We're going to go up towards the knee pit, but not directly in the knee pit. So you're going to be on the back of your thigh, but close to the knee pit. And then you're going to close your leg in. And then once you've got your leg closed in, you're going to let your hands do the manipulating. So you're going to hold that leg, hold the shin or the top of the knee, and then you're just going to take that leg and draw it in little micro circles. Circle in one direction. Circle the other way. All right, now circling is going to come to stillness, and now your foot's going to circle. So your hands are going to hold that closed in position. You're going to twirl your toes in circles, circle in one direction. Circle the other way. Nice. And now let your foot come to stillness. We're going to lift off just enough that we can move the set of balls down. So we're going to move down away from the knee joint just a little bit, and then close the leg in, and you may have to adjust your grip. So adjust your grip as needed. Once you've got a hold that you can keep that ball trapped between the calf and the thigh. Now your hands are going to do the manipulating. You're going to take that knee and draw it in circles, circle in one direction. Circle the other way. All right, now the knee circle comes to stillness, and you're going to hold on firm, and then you're just going to twirl your foot. And then twirl your foot the other way. Nice. And now we're going to move down one last time. Now, for some of us, that's going to be getting into a really tight position with the knee. So be sure to honor your knee. If you need to move it up a little bit closer, do what feels the best to the spacing of your knee. And then for this last hold, all you're going to do is hold that little bit of an intentional squeeze and a light and tiny point to the flex of the foot. So nothing extreme here, because we're losing that gripping space. So we want to keep that massaging action happening. Pay attention to the safety of the knee first. That's the most important thing. The movement is secondary. All right, one last little point and flex of that foot, and then slowly and carefully release. Set that foot down, and then just pause for a moment and notice how the back of this leg feels a little different from the other. And then once you're ready, we're going to lift the other leg up. You're going to tuck the ball underneath your bend of your knees, close to the knee joint, but not in the knee pit proper. And then once you've got your way there, your hand hold, whatever feels the most comfortable, take that knee, draw it in circles, circle in one direction. Circle the other way. Come back to center, and now we twirl the foot. Circle in one direction. Circle the other way. Awesome. Come through center, release. Now we're going to move the balls down a little bit. So move it down an inch or so, re-grab, get a handhold that feels good to you. Take the knee, draw it in circles, circle in one direction. Circle the other way. Come back to center, twirl your foot in one direction. Twirl your foot the other way. Foot comes to stillness, and now we're going to move the balls down again. So you're going to move it down. Now, if it gets too tight on the knee, then you're going to move the ball up just enough so that you've got good spacing for the knee. Knee comfort is first, and then the movement comes second. Once you've got your hold in a good position, take your knee, draw it in circles. Hands do the manipulating here. So your hands are going to help lead that knee in circles. And then circle the other way. All right, and then find a soft position where you can land, and then just point and flex the foot. Nice. One more point and flex of the foot. And then when you're ready, grab the balls, set your leg down, pause for a moment, and notice now we're going to come up into a seated forward fold. So take your time as you come up. Legs are going to be out as long as you can stand. And then you do definitely still want to micro bend the knees, but think up and over, lift everything through the front of the body, reach towards your feet. It does not matter. It never matters if you can touch your feet. What matters is that it feels good. So we don't want to feel like strain in the back. We don't want to feel like we're zinging ourselves in the butt. We want to feel like we get a little bit of a stretch through the back line of the body, and we breathe comfortably the whole time. Nice. Take one more breath. Come up nice and slow. We're going to start by working underneath the glutes. So you can go netted balls, or if you've got the bigger alpha ball, you can go alpha ball. So both of them do really great work. The netted balls, you get a lot more ground covered. The big alpha ball, you just get a lot more oomph, and that's a big muscle. So pick the tool that you like the best this morning. I think for me, I'm going to go netted balls just because. And then find a little space underneath your butt, and then we're just going to start to move forward and back, roll around. Any little bit of work here that feels good. And then as you tune in, just kind of notice, how do the muscles in your butt feel? Are you noticing any knots or little tender points, or does everything feel kind of good and smooth? There's no right or wrong, but just notice. Now, there's a difference between something that's so sensational that it's like an electric shock or like sort of a stinging bruising sensation. And then there's places where it might feel like a little bit of a knot, something that's like wants a little bit of attention. So we definitely want to be able to discern between those two places, what's causing you pain versus what's a little bit of a tender point. Now, see if you can find a tender point, not a pain point, but a little tender point or something that feels a little bit more interesting or sensational. And then can you land on that point and let your body get nice and heavy? And then take just 3 nice big breaths. Sometimes a release of a muscle takes about 30 seconds. Sometimes it could take up to 2 minutes. But what we'll notice is that all of a sudden you'll feel like your whole body kind of gives a little bit of a sigh of release. That might feel like a good release of the muscles that you're working in. So if you're ever like, I don't know if I felt it or not, if you ever feel like all of a sudden you let that like last long exhale comes out, that might just be it. All right. So when you're ready, lift up and off. And now we're just going to pass the ball over to the other side because we're not going to stay in any place too long today. So pass that ball over. Netted balls or big alpha, totally up to you, whichever feels like a better way to go. And then just start to find some movement here. Roll up and down, draw yourself in circles. Any little bit of movement that just covers a lot of ground on your butt muscles. And then notice here. So one side might feel very different from the other, especially if you've got like piriformis stuff or sciatic stuff. So if you're on one side and you're like, woo, Thanksgiving on a Monday, right? Like if you're like already here and you're like feeling sensation, then you might not choose to stay in the big sensational place and land. You might go like adjacent to it. So notice how you feel. Use good judgment when you land on a place. So now see, can you find a place that's a little bit more tender or a little bit more sensational? And then can you just let your body get heavy into that space and then just take 3 nice deep breaths? One more breath. And then when you're ready, we're going to lift up and off. Now, if you have the netted balls, go for the netted balls. We're going to go off on the side a little bit. So we're going to think about, take your hand for a second and just kind of smush around in the side body. Find that crest of your hip, and we're going to go right above the crest of your hip. So for me, that's right about here. My bony hip points here, and then the crest of my hip comes up here. So I'm going to take my netted balls and I'm going to place them right up above the crest of the hip. So you're going to find that spot, and then you're going to see if you can just lay down onto it. And then you're just going to lay as full down onto it as you can. And all you got to do once you're there is take 3 nice deep breaths. Now, if a little bit of a rocking motion would feel good, you can go for the rocking motion. But for some of us, that point on the side of the body just might feel a little bit too much for movement. So honor your body here. Pause for a moment, take the breath, notice how the breath feels. And then if the movement feels good, then it's just a light and gentle rock forward and back. All right, one more little rock forward and back, and then we're going to move up underneath the armpit. So we're going to think about that muscle at the back of the armpit, that nice thick muscle. Now we're going to take our netted balls and we're going to move it up so that they're kind of one in front of it, one in back of it, and that big muscle at the back of the armpit. And then once you're there, you're just going to let your head rest down for a moment. Notice your shoulder, notice your breath. And then if that feels like a good place to be and it feels like a little bit of a forward rock and back, you're going to use your front hand to let that help guide you. So you're just going to lay as much weight on and then let that front hand push you forward and back. All right, one more rock forward and back. And then we're going to move all of that work to the other side. So we're going to find that crest of the hip. We're going to stay above that crest of the hip. So just see if you can just use your hands, manipulate around, find that spot. And then once you've found that spot, then you're going to lay down on your side, lay on that spot, and then take a breath and notice how that feels. Because one side might feel different than the other, and it might feel more tender on one side. So if you get here and you're like, all I want to do on this side is breathe, then that's all you're going to do. If it feels good to add that little bit of rocking motion, then add the rocking motion. But one of the key indicators, if you're like there, you're doing the rocking motion, but all of a sudden you're like, your breath starts to come in at a little bit of a stagger, or you're just kind of like your body wants you to grunt a little bit. That may be an indication that it's like too much. And you might want to pause for a moment, either reposition the balls or just catch your breath, see how it feels. Take 1 or 2 more rocks forward and back, just depending on how things feel. And then when you're ready, we're going to move it up to that armpit area. So think about that muscle that is the back of the armpit, 1 ball in front, 1 ball in back. Or if you're just going single ball, then you're going to find the thickest part of that armpit space and then place that ball on, lay down, pause here for a moment, notice your breath. If a little bit of movement would feel good, your front hand is going to help guide you, and it's just going to gently push you forward and back so that you can keep the bottom half of the body nice and heavy. Because we're in that armpit area, though, there are a lot of lymph nodes and just little delicate things that go on in the armpit area. So if you find anything that kind of like zings you or like shoots pain up your arm, that is not the place you want to be, and you want to move or reposition the balls. So we want to make sure that the work feels good. It should feel like a good massage. You should be able to breathe comfortably all the time that you're doing the work. All right, 1 more rock forward and back. And then we're going to flip over into a tabletop position. And then we're going to start to work our hands. So if you want to, you can either keep the balls in your net or go a single ball. I like a single ball for when I'm doing my handwork. So go for what feels the best to you. And then you'll sit most of your weight back into your heels. So we'll be in that tabletop position, but a little bit more body weight back in the heels so you're not putting too much heat on the hands. And then stack one hand on top of the other. And we're just going to start by drawing some circles on the palm. Circle in one direction. Go nice and slow. Circle the other way. All right, now we're going to go up and down. So we're going to go tips of the fingers to the edge of the wrist, and then you just work down the finger line. So go index finger, middle finger, ring finger, etc., etc. Just move yourself up and down, cover the length, and let the top hand just kind of help support and guide so that the fingers just kind of feel like they get a little bit of downward pressure. All right, 1 more rock forward and back, and then we're going to take it just to the web of the thumb. So we're not going to do all the finger splits today. We're just going to go web of the thumb. So you're going to put the ball underneath the web of the thumb, and now you're going to bring a little bit more of your body weight forward, and you're just going to lean into it as much as you can stand. There should be 0 pain here. So if you find yourself in any pain points, butt back towards the heels. Bring as much body weight forward as you can stand, and then take 3 nice deep breaths. All right, and then when you're ready, lift off, and we're moving it over to the other side. So most of your butt weight back in your heels, just so you're not putting on the hands, and then we're just drawing some circles, 1 hand on top of the other, just to help control. Circle in one direction, go nice and slow. Draw your circles the other way, go nice and slow. All right, and then when you're ready, we're switching it into the length of the hand. So think edge of the wrist up to the fingertips, and then just work the line of your hand. Index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky, and then go back and forth. Nice. 1 more length of the hand. Go web of the thumb. So just the web of the thumb. And then once you've got the web of your thumb on, then you bring your body weight forward, but only you can stand it. If you get there and if you've got anything going on with your hand, arthritis, carpal tunnel, anything of that nature, pay attention to how your breathing is behaving. Notice how your body feels. One more breath. All right, now we're going to move on to our psoas. So alpha ball is going to get a lot of ground covered. So it's just a nice, it's just got a little bit more depth. So it's going to get in there a little bit more. So if you've got the alpha ball, go alpha ball. If you've got the netted balls and you just want a little bit more ground covered, you'll reposition. So maybe at a slight angle so you get a little bit in. But we want to think where those front protruding hip bones are. We're going to move in about 2 inches or so. That's the tissue we're working in. So not on a bony structure, in about 2 inches. And we're going to start on one side and then we'll move over to the other side. But where you're landing, come down onto your belly, place that ball into that space, pause for a moment with the chest upright, just notice how that feels, because this already might be enough. If this feels like a good sensation, you can still breathe and there's nothing screaming at you here, then you maybe choose to lower your chest and your forehead down. Check the pressure here, make sure that it feels good. Once you're here, the breath is going to do the rest of the work. So you're going to go for about 5 nice deep breaths. Think breath down to the bottom of the rib cage or big expansive breath in the rib cage, and then exhale as slow as you can. If you can, with each exhale, you're going to think about letting the abdominal muscles get as soft and heavy down towards the ground, or as if they're trying to like wrap themselves around the ball like a little melted fluid over the ball. All right, one more breath here. Now, before we move that ball away, you're going to see how it feels to just take a couple light little bends. So if you're on your right side, it's the right leg that's going to bend. So you're just going to start by lightly bending and straightening the legs. See how that feels. That might be sensational and you might be like, oh, no, thank you. That's not for me. So you're always going to pay attention to the work that feels good versus the work that feels like it's a little too much. If it feels good, the next time the knee bends, you're going to keep it in that bent position. And now you're just going to point and flex the foot. One more little point and flex of the foot, and then assuming that it feels good, just a gentle rock of the foot side to side. Nothing extreme. Go really, really small here. All right, one more little wiggle from side to side, and then slowly release that foot down to the ground. Remove that ball from underneath. Give a second. Give your butt a little wag. Shake your tail just enough, and then we're going to move it on to the other side. So alpha ball or netted balls on the psoas, or think 2 inches in from that hip point. So bony hip point landmarks, go about 2 inches in that soft belly tissue. And then once you've found your way there, pause for a moment. One side might be very different from the other. So you want to make sure that you take a moment to assess. If you're more in that upright position with the chest lifted and that feels like all you've got, then stay right there. If it feels good to slowly lower down, take a second to lower down. Once you're there, let your forehead rest and then see, can you come into your breath? Breathe nice and fully and deeply into your rib cage, and then exhale as slow as you can. And with each exhale, the muscles of your abdomen are just melting and softening over the ball. One more breath. And then you're going to start to see, how does it feel to just do a light little bend and straighten of the leg. You bend and straighten that leg even once and it feels like, oh my goodness, oh my gracious, then you're just going to let that leg rest heavy on the ground. If it feels good, to gently move it, find a good slow and even pace. And then assuming things are feeling good, the next time that leg bends, keep it bent and then point and flex the foot just a little bit. I often keep my head lifted and oftentimes also turned out just because of the microphone so that I can talk to you. But if you've got the work going on, you want to keep your head either resting down or head forward. So you're keeping an even spinal position. All right, one more point and flex of the foot. And then if it's feeling good, then you're going to swish the foot a little side to side, but go small, go micro movement here. Beautiful. One more little swish of that foot side to side, and then slowly release your foot down. Slowly and carefully prop your way up through tabletop position and then into a comfortable seated position. So whatever seat feels good, maybe crisscross applesauce. All we want is one single ball and access to our jaw. And then we're going to do that little doorknob turn. So you're going to go where the jaw meets the ear, and then we're going to take that ball and push in just a little bit and turn, and then push in and turn the other way. So we're going to turn in one direction and then turn the other way. And what we hope to have happen is that the ball is going to catch a little bit of that skin and connective tissue. So it's going to feel like it's kind of pulling the skin of your cheek and pulling the skin of your face just a little bit, not too much. Go mindful and careful. All right, and then find a nice place where you can just gently push in. And then once you've got that little gentle push in, open and close your mouth about 3 times. Nice. And then take that ball and just roll it up and down that cheek line just a little bit. So think from the chin to the cheek. All right, one more time, chin to the cheek, and then we're going to take it over to the other side, and we're doing that doorknob turn. So we push in, turn in one direction, push in and turn the other way. And we want that same thing on this side. We want to feel like it's catching the skin a little bit, not too much, especially if your skin in your face feels a little delicate, or like in the cold weather where it's a little too dry. So be mindful about the depth of work that you do here. All right, one more twist and turn, and then push in, hold that pressure, open and close your mouth about 3 times. And then once you've done about 3 open and close, just take that ball and just move it from chin to cheek. Nice. One more last time, chin to cheek, and then take that ball right between your hands, interlace your fingers, a little bit of pressure, and we're just going to draw micro circles with our palms. So you're just circling in one direction. But as you do this work here, if you can, just for a moment, close your eyes down, take a nice deep breath in. Your hands are still moving. Slow breath out through your nose. If your hands are circling in one direction, reverse, go the other way. Take a nice deep breath in. Slow breath out through your nose. Lovely. And then when you're ready, release your shoulders down, give them a good shrug, twinkle out your fingers, wiggle out your jaw. You guys are amazing. Nice work today. Happy Monday.